Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Let us read the verse number 16. Drishyavaritam chittamatmanah Chittadarshanam tattvadarshanam. Chittadarshanam tattvadarshanam. Chit, chitva, tva is a state. Chit means consciousness. So chittadarshanam, darshanam, the knowledge or appreciation of chitvam, consciousness, is tattva darshanam, is a darshanam, the knowledge of truth. Meaning the knowledge of consciousness is the knowledge of truth, because consciousness is truth. Call it consciousness, call it awareness, the self, that's the truth. So how do you arrive at the truth? Drishyavaritam atmanah chittam atmanah. Drishyavaritam chittam. Chittam means the mind, and we say in the morning, what is mind? A series of thoughts. What is a thought? Thought is a form corresponding to its respective object, like a pot thought, a cloth thought. Ultimately, what is that thought made up of? The thought, in fact, is made up of awareness. Awareness assumes a form, a name, and is called thought. Therefore, in thought now, there are two aspects. One is awareness, other is the name and form which corresponds to an object. So here, the teacher says, Ramana Maharshi says, describing what yoga does, is Drishyavaya Chittam. Chitta itself reveals itself to be Chit or consciousness. When the Drishya part, the name and form part is removed, then Chitta, what is mind itself, reveals itself to be consciousness. That is fine. How do you remove it? By Chitta Vritti Nirodha. This is a yoga prakriya. That you completely eliminate the mind, the name and thought are not there. So Chitta Vritti Nirodha means that there is no name and form in the mind, in the thought. And therefore, what remains is the consciousness or awareness. Simple equation, a thought. Consciousness plus a name and form is a thought. So thought minus name and form is consciousness. Okay, that is. So how do you arrive at thought minus name and form is consciousness? By eliminating name and form. This is the yoga prakriya. How to eliminate the name and form? By not allowing name and form to arise in your mind, by completely controlling the mind and not letting the form or the name and form arise. And therefore, tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam Yoga Shastra says. Thus when chitta vritti nirodha takes place, I am repeating this to contrast it with the verse that follows. That the Yoga Shastra says that thus, when chitta vritti nirodha, there is cessation of all the thoughts, meaning cessation of all the names and forms, what remains is consciousness, tada, at that time, when all the names and forms, there is a cessation of all the names and forms, then tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam, then drashta, the knower, abides in his own nature, which is consciousness. So Yoga Shastra says that from the mind, from the thought, eliminate name and form. How to eliminate? By controlling the mind and making subtler and subtler such that ultimately name and form does not arise. So what remains is consciousness yourself. This is one prakriya. This is yoga prakriya. And then all beginning of yama, niyama, all of this is leading to this ultimate experience, we can call it. Now in contrast to this, now comes the next verse, verse 17. Manasantu kim margane krute naiva manasam marga arjava. So what does Vedanta do? Manasantu kim? What is this mind? Iti margane krute. Marganam meaning investigation, inquiring or investigating. So when you investigate, what is this mind? Neva manasam, we will find that mind no more remains. Now, Yoga Shastra also wants mind no more to remain. What is their method? By cessation of all the thoughts, the yoga wants mind no more to remain. If that is what you want to achieve, then Vedanta says, Manasantukim, what is this mind? Iti margane krute, let us dwell upon, inquire into that. Let us investigate what is what we call mind. Now let me inform you as to why this difference comes. Is because yoga is based on the philosophy of Sankhya, and Sankhya basically accepts the duality of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha, the person, the consciousness, the Atma; Prakriti, the matter, the Anatma. So the whole universe, including my body, mind, sense complex, all of this is the product of Prakriti, product of matter. Not only this gross body is a product of matter, but my sense organs, my mind, intellect, all of this is the product of Prakriti, matter, primordial matter. That yoga also accepts, Sankhya also accepts. Except that Sankhya says that Prakriti and Purusha, both of them are equally real. What is duality? Anatma also is real and Atma also is real. What is real? They enjoy the same degree of reality. You see, this is your belief. And then Sankhyas also say that there are as many Atmas, as many living beings are. That every living being is his or her own Atma, which is the same. Your Atma is not different from my Atma. The nature of your Atma is the same as the nature of my Atma. It's consciousness. But still, the consciousness that you are is different from consciousness that I am. And Prakriti, the matter, and therefore the mind, is as real as Purusha, as real as consciousness. Therefore, for Yoga Shastra also, mind is real. Understand what is meant by real? Real means it stands opposed to consciousness or Atma. Therefore, as long as the mind is, so long the bondage is. In order to gain freedom from bondage, you must eliminate the mind, because mind is real. As long as the mind is, it will pose a problem to you, therefore eliminate the mind. When mind is eliminated by chitta vritti nirodha, by cessation of all the thoughts, thoughts are not there, mind is not there, what remains is only Purusha, the consciousness. So that is when you have the real knowledge or experience of yourself, which is consciousness. Meaning thereby that in order for you to know that you are consciousness, it is necessary to eliminate the mind, because mind is a reality and stands opposed to consciousness or Atma. What does Vedanta say? So Vedanta says, before you do something with the mind, before you start eliminating the mind, suppressing the mind or stopping the mind, before you do all that, first understand what the mind is, whether is mind really a problem or not. If mind is real, then mind is a problem, therefore to eliminate the problem, you eliminate the mind, that's what Yoga Shastra does. Vedanta says that, is mind a problem? Yes, Swami, my mind is restless. It's never steady, always restless, all kinds of conflict going on in my mind. And so, what do? You take some medication so that the mind becomes, you don't allow the mind to think. Mind thinks and then there's a problem. Don't allow the mind to think. That may be all right, for people who cannot, but that's all they need. But we are talking about normal people, for whom also mind is a problem, because the mind is taken to be real. And therefore, everybody has problem with the mind. That is the reason why we are usually not able to be with ourselves. When we have to confront our mind, we become restless. Because the mind is restless, and mind is always confronting me. Mind always creates problem in me. It has all complexes. I am no good, I am limited, I am small, insignificant. So mind is insignificant, no doubt. But I feel I am insignificant. So that I am insignificant, I am small, limited, is it the reality about I? Or is the limitedness of the mind superimposed upon I, and then I feel that way? Vedanta says that inquire into what is the reality of mind. See, this is very important. What Puja Swami always say, Vedanta deals with realities. First, let us settle what's the reality of what we call the world. The world is a problem. Let us inquire what is the reality of the world. The mind is a problem. Let us inquire what is the reality of mind. And then we'll see what to do. So according to Vedanta, Prakriti and Purusha cannot be two independent entities. Prakriti or matter or mind cannot be independent of the self or consciousness. You know why? Because whenever the thought is, whenever mind is, the thought is, I'm aware of the thought, is it right? Thought is, whatever thought is, good, bad, indifferent, whatever thought is, am I not aware of the thought? I become aware of the thought when the thought is illumined by the awareness. Like I see these objects here when they are illumined by light. So I know what is going on in my mind. Swamiji, I have very bad thoughts. I have very good thoughts. So we are aware whether thoughts are good, bad, indifferent, whatever. It is no fact that if we are not aware of thought, there is no problem also, by the way. Nobody's problem in deep sleep state when there is no thought, no problem. When I wake up, thought arises, then the fight begins. But Vedantin asks this question, are you aware of the thought or not? If I am not aware of the thought, I have no problem because then thought cannot be a problem, like in deep sleep. If I am aware of the problem, second question is, can you say that the thought is separate from awareness? Take this flower for example, You can see this flower. When can you see the flower? When the flower is illumined by the light. If this room was in pitch darkness, then in spite of the flower being there, you cannot perceive the flower. When can you see the flower? When the flower is illumined by the light. So is the flower ever separate from light? Can the flower stand separate from light? If the flower stands separate from light, can you see the flower? When can you see the flower? When can we see the flower? Only when the flower is illumined by the light. It is pervaded by the light, illumined by the light. If flower gets away from the light, can it be perceived? No. So therefore, can you say that the flower or the color, basically what the light illumines is color. Can the color be away from the light? Can the color be away from the light? Because light illumines the color. Without light, the color cannot be perceived. So when we are perceiving color of flower, we are also perceiving light, is it not so? We may not make note of light. We may not make a note of the light being there because we are so focused on the flower that we do not recognize the light being there. That is possible. But when we are aware of flower, are we not aware of light? Therefore, the flower cannot stand apart from light. So now come to the mind of thought. When a thought takes place in my mind, like a flower thought, I am aware of the thought. You know what it means? That means that the thought is illumined by the awareness, then only I can become aware of the thought. I can become aware of anything only when that object is illuminated by awareness. So that awareness is like the light that illumines the thoughts and objects. Is that clear? Just as the flower is perceived only when the flower is illumined by light, so also a thought, I can be aware of the thought Only when the thought is illumined by awareness or consciousness. So just as the flower or this color cannot be separated from light, so can the thought be separate from awareness? If you take the thought away from awareness, will you be aware of thought? Will there be thought? This is a very important question. There is a pot thought in my mind, flower thought in my mind, you thought in my mind. When I am aware of the flower, aware of you, aware of anything, meaning that awareness always accompanies every knowledge. Is it not so? Without awareness there cannot be perception or cognition. So the pramata, the cognitive entity. So I can cognize a flower provided then the flower is illumined by consciousness when there is consciousness. Who is consciousness? I am consciousness. What is flower? Object. Produced from what? Matter. Is Prakriti. So Prakriti I can become aware of Prakriti, matter, flower, only when that is illumined by awareness. That means that the flower, the Prakriti, the matter cannot be apart from awareness. Flower is, awareness is. Suppose remove the flower, there is no thought. Does awareness remain or not? When the thought is in my mind, awareness is because without awareness I could not become aware of the thought. If the thought goes away, does awareness remain or not? Oh, let me ask you this question. There is a series of thoughts. One thought goes, second thought comes, second thought goes, third thought comes, right? Each thought is different from the other thought. How do you know that? How do you know flower thought has gone, the pot thought has come, the pot thought has gone, the cloth thought has come? How do we distinguish one thought from the other when there is some infinitesimal gap between the two thoughts? One thought is over, one thought arises, is over, second thought arises, is over, third thought arises, is it not so? That means that there must be some gap. Although we may not know, say those thoughts flow so fast. But in order for us to recognize one thought is different from other thought, there must be space between those two thoughts, is it not so? There must be a very minute space where there is no thought. Thought, thoughtlessness. Thought, thoughtlessness. Thought, thoughtlessness. Is it right? If that gap between the two thoughts was not there, we could not distinguish one thought from the other. There is one person here, second one there, third. When can I say? When there is space between them which separates the two. So there is space between two thoughts which separates the two thoughts. Otherwise there is one continuous thought, otherwise. So then what is there between the two thoughts?
Awareness of absence.
There is void, absence of thought, but not just absence. Thought is there, awareness is there. Second thought is there, awareness is there. Third thought is there, awareness. Between the two thoughts, what is there? Awareness should be there. Is it not so? Like this is there, light is there, other one is there, light is there. Between them, light must be there. Therefore, between thoughts, there must be awareness, right? Now see this equation. The thought is awareness is because we could not be aware of thought without awareness. But thought is not. When between two thoughts, thought is not, still what is there? Awareness is there. See this equation? For Vedanta it's a very important equation. So what's the big deal, Swami? That's the big deal. Thought cannot be without awareness, but awareness can be without thought. Isn't it so? Thought cannot be without awareness because you cannot be aware of thought without awareness. Even when the thought is not, as between two thoughts, then also the awareness is. So thought requires awareness to be there. Awareness does not require thought to be there. Is that right? So it's something that is dependent, something that is independent of these two. What is dependent? Thought depends upon awareness for it to be there. Because without awareness, existence of thought could not be established. Is this flower there in my hand? How do you say it is there? How do you say there is flower in my hand? No, it's a very simple question. Don't get, it's not complicated thing. I'm asking a simple question. What enables you to say that there is flower in my hand?
The awareness that we know that's flower.
Because you see it, isn't it? You say the flower is because you see it. Is there a flower in my hand? No, because you don't see it, right? So you see the flower because it is there. How do you say flower is when you see it? When can you see? When it is. Meaning that to be and to shine, they are simultaneous. So existence of flower is established when you are aware of the flower. If you are not aware of flower, existence is not established. So existence of thought is established when you are aware of the thought. The thought cannot be if you are not aware of it. That means that the thought depends upon awareness for it to be there. Awareness does not depend upon thought for it to be there. Is that equation clear? So of the awareness and thought, one is dependent upon the other. What is dependent upon what? Thought is dependent upon awareness. Otherwise independent. What is independent? Awareness is independent of thought. So thought enjoys dependent reality, awareness enjoys independent reality. You understand that? Isn't it? Let's come to a more familiar example. This pot is made of clay. What would happen if you take away the clay from this object called pot? What will happen? What will remain? From this pot, if you take away clay, would something remain? No. From this we remove the pot, name and form, would something remain? Clay. So what we call a pot or name and form is there because clay is, but clay does not require a pot to be there. Clay is independent. Ornament is there when the gold is, but gold is even when ornament is not. In this example, pot is dependent upon clay and clay is independent. So this pot is a union of two entities, clay and pot or name and form, of which clay is independent, name and form are dependent. That is called creation. What is creation? Union of clay, which is independent, called Satyam in Vedanta. Clay is not Satyam, but independent reality is called Satyam. So what does Vedanta call Satyam or truth? That which does not depend upon anything else for it to be, which exists independently. which means that it can never be that it is not. Whereas this pot will not be if the clay is not. What is independent? Doesn't depend upon anything else. Pot is just an example. Between pot and clay, the pot is dependent, clay is independent. Between awareness and thought is dependent, awareness independent. So, in the clay and pot, another question. When you use the word clay, there is an object pertaining to the word clay. What am I holding? What I am smelling? What is it? Clay. The weight that I am feeling is clay. The sound that is made by clay. What is this object? The tangible object is really clay. You choose to call it pot. So pot is what? A thought, an imagination, a projection, according to Vedanta. Clay is reality and name and form is projection upon reality. Projection need be there, need not be there. But the reality is always there. So the thought is a projection upon awareness. It need or need not be there. Awareness is independent, therefore it cannot not be there. So, in Vedanta, independent reality is called Satyam, which cannot be negated, which is independent, which does not depend upon anything else to be. Whereas the thought or prakriti or matter is called mithya because it has a dependent reality. This becomes clear. Is it understood? So then, coming back now to the Atma and Anatma, Purusha and Prakriti, the awareness of the mind. The Sankhya in Yoga says that the mind is independent of awareness. It has its own reality, therefore it is called duality. Purusha also is real, Prakriti also is real. Therefore you have to eliminate that mind in order for it to experience Purusha or awareness. As long as mind is there, so long you can't be free, so you have to eliminate manonasha. Such a long process is there for elimination of mind, so that you can experience awareness. That's the yoga prakriya. Why that prakriya? Because they take mind to be real. Vedanta says, before you try to do anything with the mind, let's understand what the mind is. Is it real or unreal? It is unreal, it is mithya. Meaning independent reality is called mithya, is projection. So therefore, really, again, this part, even when you think it is not. This part, even when you think it is not because what is clay. Where is pot? Where is pot? Pot is in my mind, is a notion in my mind, is a projection upon the clay. Swamiji, even the pot and clay are the same. Can you feel water in clay? In pot you can feel water. This is a problem they have. The pot is useful, clay is not useful. How can you say pot is clay? Vedanta says that usefulness does not determine the reality. What determines whether it is independent or not determines reality, not usefulness. So Vedanta, whatever is useful is mithya. Jagat is useful, mithya. Mind is useful, mithya. So we need that for vyavahara. You are not obliged to do vyavahara, by the way. But if you want to, then you need all these things. So it is useful as far as Vyavahara is concerned. Usefulness does not determine the reality. What is reality? Whether it is independent or dependent. Whether it can be negated or not. The pot will be negated. If it falls from my hand and breaks into pieces, is there a pot anymore? No. Whatever shards, you further pound them, there will be what? A powder. Even shards are not there. You can keep on reducing to molecules and atoms and so on and so forth. The thing is that if you don't go to... But as I said, clay will always remain regardless of names and forms keep on changing, clay remains. So clay is real, pot is unreal, mithya, projected. Is there or not doesn't matter. Mithya is there, useful. Not there, doesn't matter. What it means that you can withdraw your mind from the pot, you cannot withdraw your mind from the clay. Try. When holding this object in front of you, it will be possible for you to look at the pot and then still possible for you to focus your attention on the clay part. So then there will be clay in your mind, the pot need not be there. You follow what I am saying? When I am holding this ornament in my hand, it's your choice that you want to concern yourself with the form and name, and so you can withdraw your attention from the form and name, but the gold will remain in your mind. Gold cannot be eliminated. In this example, gold cannot be eliminated. It is satyam, and the form is incidental. Is there now, not there then. Incidental is mithya. The whole universe is incidental, is it not so? Before creation, the universe was not there. After dissolution, it won't be there. In between, it is there. It's called incidental. But the universe emerges from something, from awareness. It is sustained by awareness. It merges back into awareness. So awareness is real. Universe names and forms are incidental. So what is mind? Incidental. A thought is incidental, not a reality. Therefore, it is possible that even when you see this part, you know that part is not there. Even when you see it. In your mind, you know. Even when you see this part, in your mind you know that it is incidental. It doesn't have reality. So, just because you see does not mean it is real. What your conclusion is, so it is not that power is real because I see it. I conclude that power is real, but I have the freedom to recognize that part is incidental. What is real is clay. So then, part is no more. So part can be eliminated in two ways. Either you break it down so part is not there, or you recognize that part is incidental. Even when it appears, it is not there in reality. You see the difference between the two? So two ways of eliminating part from your mind. One is break the part so that it is not there. Or even when you see the part, recognize in your mind that even when you see, it is not really there. What is really there is clay only. That clay alone is real, part is incidental, and therefore part no more remains a problem. If part is real, then it can be a problem. An incidental thing, mithya, cannot be a problem when recognized as mithya. So Vedanta says mind cannot be a problem if we understand what the nature of mind is. Other than Vedanta, everybody takes mind as real. All the psychology, everybody takes mind as real. Well, the philosophers also, the Sankhyas and Yogas, and all of them take mind as real. And therefore they are all dualists. Consciousness or Atma is one, mind is another one, therefore there are two realities. Then you keep fighting. Two will always fight. Two independent entities will fight. Sometimes they can be friends, but usually because they are different. Therefore, as long as mind is thought to be real and separate from me, then it becomes a big menace, always threatening me, coming up with all kinds of, problems. So then I try to run away from my mind. So what we do, engage ourselves in various activities. So I don't have to confront the mind. That's called self-escape, escapism. So then we have all this, they have provided us enough things. The social media is provided. So I can engage myself in that thing, so I don't have to confront myself. It's one thing to use the social media for a purpose. Other thing to go to social media in order to avoid myself. One is using something, other is being used by something. You use social media, but not as an escape. Otherwise, if it's an escape, then we are bound, then that will control us. I can't do without it. First thing in the morning, I have to look at my WhatsApp, whatever it is. First thing, people, Bhagavan, they don't remember. What they need in the first thing in the morning is whatever it is that they must be expecting, I don't know, but then it becomes an addiction, becomes a bondage. Everything is good as long as I am independent. I have a choice to let it go. But Swami would say that when you are sitting on the dining table, do you have freedom to withdraw your chair? No, please, one more samosa. I can't withdraw my chair. One more samosa, one more rasgulla, one more gulab jamu, one more plate of ice cream. That's called bondage. Eating ice cream is not a bondage, whether I am eating with freedom or bondage, that I can't do without it. Right now the mind has become such a problem that I have to avoid the mind, that I should distract myself, and the world gives you all kinds of sources of distraction. Being social media is one television, all sorts of things are there. So these marketing people are pretty smart. They know what and then they create the need also. By giving and ultimately create the need also. So understand that I am not, or Vedanta is not against any technology, any development, nothing at all. They are all empowerment, they are all useful things. But when I am used by them, or Swami would say, as long as the dog wags the tail, it looks nice. If the tail starts wagging the dog, big problem. So they wag me, that little phone decides, it calls me. Like in this one college in Ahmedabad, between the two classes at 10 o'clock, all the students found themselves slowly drawn to a tea shop. Everybody had tea. Later on it was found out that this tea fellow was adding something in there. And so they all got addicted. They were 10 o'clock, automatically their feet will take them there. So I am controlled. This is by the way I am saying. In our life we must be made, we must remain independent. You can enjoy anything, you can experience, use whatever you want with freedom. Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha, Upanishad says. Tena bhunjitaha, that's one meaning is to enjoy something. Tyaktena, by freedom from attachment, from dependence, enjoy things without being addicted to that, without being dependent upon that. Otherwise, everything becomes a problem. Why? By not being there. Because I can't do without it. And then slowly my mind becomes more demanding. Not only I should have rasgulla, but of certain kind. Not like that, this is not good. Then this movie is not good, that is not good, then I must have specific things, and I become more and more demanding, more and more dependent. Anyway, that's by the way, what I'm saying is, by giving reality to the things, Just as Yoga Shastra developed a grand escape, process of completely shutting off the mind, we are doing it other way. Oh, the Yoga Shastra is a great Shastra, and so that's a path of independence or control. Here, by avoiding, running away from the mind, we are getting on the trap. But Vedanta says that before you start doing something with the mind, manasantu kim, what is this mind? Iti margane krute, when an inquiry is pursued into what is the reality, what is the mind means, what is the reality of mind? What is mind is thoughts is mind, that is not a big thing. There also will come, what is the mind, what is the reality of mind? You follow? Is it real or is it unreal? Is satyam or mithya? By knowing mithya as mithya, problem is solved. When mithya is taken as satyam, then it becomes a big problem. Mithya is known as mithya, no problem. Everything becomes a problem in my life when it is real as I am. Atma is satyam, everything is mithya, dependent, then it doesn't matter what it is. So this is the Vedantin way of dealing or understanding with the mind, understanding the mind, dealing with the mind. Manasantu kim margane krute, when you inquire, what is this pot? Means, what's the reality of the pot? Pot doesn't remain. What remains? Clay. Is it not so? Even you perceive the clay, you know that clay is not real. That will be real knowledge. When you perceive the pot, you know that pot is not there. What is clay? You see? For that you need not break the pot into pieces. Even the pot is in the form of pot, then also you understand that pot is just incidental. What is real is clay. So we need not have to completely eliminate the mind. What we need is to inquire into what the mind is. Even when the mind is there, I see that it is not real. To do that will require a certain kind of mind, I understand. That's called Antahakana Shuddhi. We can become objective with everything. This is called objectivity when I can... What is objectivity? When I can inquire into the nature of this thing, when I have no axe to grind. Like a scientist, objective with reference to. So, I can inquire into the nature of this reality when I am objective. Meaning I have no attachment, no aversion. When a scientist analyzes a specimen, he has no axe to grind. There may be a hypothesis, but then it doesn't insist that this should turn out to be this, otherwise it's politics. When you already determine what the answer should be, it is more politics, not science. But otherwise, science is open. So we also should acquire open-mindedness. Objectivity, that's called vairagya. That's the freedom from ragadvesha. So that does become a necessity. An inquiring mind is required. Not a retching mind, not a reacting mind, not a projecting mind, an inquiring mind, an objective mind is required to understand anything properly. Even to live our life also. To live life intelligently also, we need to be objective. Because everything is, this is all gold, but this one is different. Why? It's given by my grandmother, so this is different. Something special. This is special. It's my this. Others are okay. For vyavahara you may do that. But what happens is thus, we do not remain objective, we do not look upon everything in the same light. So that is called objectivity when my relationship with something is free from attachment and aversion. Both of them distort my perception. Attachment also distorts the perception. Then I cannot see any faults. Mother cannot see fault with her child. Neighbor's child is like this, my child is okay. And aversion, that fellow can never be good. When I don't like something, he can never be good. When I love something, he can never be wrong. So if we relate like this, then we are not relating with the things as they are. We are relating as we perceive in our mind. That's how life also is like this, by the way. Let alone Vedanta, in life also we require to be objective, to appreciate things for what they are. Therefore, Vedanta emphasizes freedom from raga and dvesha for this purpose. What purpose? So that you have a mind free from raga dvesha is an objective mind. What is an objective mind? The mind that can see things as they are. Otherwise, a projecting mind, it projects something over and above what is. Then this looks like, oh, this is something special to me. It is dear to me. It makes me happy. It's an object of happiness. This one I don't care. It makes me unhappy. So I look upon something as an object of happiness or unhappiness. That's not objectivity. Then I am partial to this. And I am cruel to this. Or partial to this and cruel to this. I mean, suppose this is valuable. I am partial to this, cruel to this. Because it is clay. Doesn't fetch anything. This is gold, very precious. It's one thing to treat this as gold and precious, other thing to have partiality that this is superior to this. Who has decided that? Once our great Shankaracharya, you know all this event in Kashi, early morning, he had a dip in the Ganges and was returning from Ganges with his disciples to Kashi Vishwanath. That was the morning routine. Go, take a dip in the Ganges, fill the pot with water, come to Kashi Vishwanath, offer that to the Lord. Now this was early morning, in that time of dawn, where things are still not very clear. So one morning, Shankaracharya must be in his own world, I guess, in the world of Brahman, I guess, not in this world. Now Kashi is very narrow lanes. And all of a sudden Acharya found that this narrow lane was blocked by a huge person. He was a sweeper. So habitually he said, Gacha, gacha, apasarpa, move away. That's a Brahmana saying, This is habitual error. This is the story, by the way. And so that sweeper confronted Acharya. So, sir, you are the most learned one, most revered one, therefore I must follow your instruction. I will do what you say, I will move away. But please tell me, what should move away from what? So you move away. What do you mean by you? Do you mean this body? So when you say you should move away, do you mean that this body, which is lump of flesh, should move away from that body which is lump of flesh? Is that what you mean? So when you say you, do you mean this body? When you say I, do you mean that body? So that I should move away from you, does it mean that this lump of flesh should move away from that lump of flesh? Is that what you mean? Or consciousness that I am should move away from consciousness that you are. What should move away from what? So Acharya must have woken up. This is something else. And this sweeper continued his discourse. He clarified himself. King Gangam Bimmitambaramanav Chandalavati says, you are, sir, coming from the Ganges, which is very pure and holy. And I am coming from a slum where there is this stream of dirty sewage water. So sun gets reflected in the holy water of Ganges, and sun also gets reflected in that dirty water of sewage. Does the reflection become impure because it is in the Ganges? Or pure because it is in Ganges? Or does the reflection become impure because it is in the sewage water? Does it? The reflection of sun, when it falls in the Ganges, does it become sanctified? And the reflection of sun, when it falls in the sewage water, does it become polluted? Does it or not? No? Why? Is it not that one reflection which is in the Ganges water is holy, other reflection which is in the sewage water is dirty, impure? Is it not so? The Ganges water can be called holy. The sewage water can be called impure. But how about the reflection? Reflection has no contact with the reflecting medium, and therefore the reflection remains the same. Is it not so? Or another example. This is called Pratibimba Vada in Vedanta. Or the space. Suppose there is a clay pot and a space which is limited by the pot, clay pot, and then there is a gold pot, let us say. And in the space, does that clay pot make that pot space inferior to the space in the golden pot? Does it become superior because it is gold pot space? Does the pot in any way affect the space? So also, O Acharya, O revered sir, in this consciousness, like the ocean of consciousness, waveless ocean of consciousness, where did you get the idea of you and I? Where do you get this duality of I and you that you are asking to move away? You understand this dialogue? Then this is like the holy water of Ganges, you. I am like the very impure water of the sewage. And the self is like reflected in the holy water of the sewage. Does consciousness, self, does it get polluted? Because it's reflected here? Does it get sanctified because it's reflected there? What's the difference between two reflections? Aren't the same nature? The space, does it become more valuable because associated with golden pot and becomes less valuable associated with the clay pot? Or it's the same? So where do you see the difference between you and I? Immediately Shankaracharya recognized what mistake I had made and falls at the feet of the Chandala, of the sweeper. See, that is, the Acharyas criticize for all these varnashrams, that varna, this brahmana, but his reaction is what? Falls at the feet. Which means that this shows his humility, that no, you are my teacher. Whoever has this knowledge is my guru. Chandalastu satudvijosti guruhu ityesa esha manisha. Whoever has this knowledge is my guru. Whether it's the Chandala or it's the Brahmana. So what are we saying is that where is the duality? Where is the difference? So Vedanta comes from here. What is. So objectivity is no partiality, no cruelty based on merely an appearance, because the truth does not get affected by the name and form. Moment you get identified, I am so and so, I am Brahmana, right away you look down upon the sweeper. But I am a sweeper, then you feel so inferior and miserable in presence of a Brahmana. But who are you? I am consciousness, Atma. That's called real objectivity. Is it not so? Consciousness comes in the guise of this upadhi called Brahmana, in the guise of that upadhi called a sweeper. Upadhi costume does not change the actor. So recognizing what is called ultimate objectivity. So we begin with the objectivity in life. Both raga, dvesha, attachment, aversions, both of them affect our objectivity, affect our impartiality. We become partial to something that we are attached to, become cruel to something that we have aversion for. With that mind, when I look at things, I can never be right. Meaning in day-to-day life also, we should try to become as objective as we can, meaning we should work on our raga, dveshas. And that is why the karma yoga, bhakti yoga, all the attitude, we discussed all that. How bring Ishvara into the life. And that ultimate objective is required to recognize that Atma is Satyam, Anatma is Mithya, mind is Mithya. Mithya is no problem, doesn't matter what it is. Is restless? Mithya. Quiet? Mithya. The state of mind doesn't make a difference whether it is mithya or not. It's mithya regardless of what the state is. Whether the ornament is shapely ornament or is a shapeless ornament, it's still gold. If shape is important, then I love one ornament, I dislike another one. But if gold is what I'm looking at, my attitude is the same. So what I'm saying is what Vedanta expects from us. That kind of objectivity. Then mind is incidental. In deep sleep, mind is not there. In waking, the mind is there. It comes and goes, incidental. In deep sleep also awareness is, waking also awareness is, dream also awareness is. It never comes, never goes, always is the basis, the substratum of everything upon which the play of this waking, dream, mind goes on. So it is mind that is awake, mind that is dreaming, mind that is sleeping, not Atma. On this platform or substratum of Atma, the self-consciousness, the play of the mind goes on, sometimes waking, sometimes dreaming, sometimes sleeping. So Vedanta does not concern itself with the mind. Once it understands the reality of mind, recognizes that mind is because of conscious Atma. Atma is the truth of the mind. Conscious is the truth of the mind. Conscious alone appears as mind. Manasantukim margane krute. Then mind does not, meaning reality of mind does not remain. Mind may remain as an entity, but reality of part does not remain. Part may remain as a name and form, as a vyavahara. Vyavaharik reality, not real, absolute reality. Marg, this is what, now Vedanta says, this is how we should approach the mind. Taking the mind as real, then you fight with it, then you completely control it and subdue it. Or recognize that even when it is there, it's not a problem. Marge arjavat, marge vichara marge arjavat. Arjavam, straightforwardness, simplicity, simple. This is a simple way. This way of marga means vichara marga. Margane krute, marga or margana, when investigation, thus when we subject it to scrutiny, then we realize that mind is not there. Even when it appears to be there, it is not in reality there. This is a straightforward path, straightforward way. So that is how the Vedantic inquiry starts. And it will continue, we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.